Joining us now is Democratic Senator Chris Coons. He's a member of the Senate's Judiciary Committee, the Foreign Relations and Appropriations Committee. I got it right there, finally. It's good to have you, Senator. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be on with you again.
All right, so let's go through some big headlines for today. First, what do you make of the Democrat loss in South Carolina and in Georgia's special election? What does this mean for you Democrats?
Well, Chris, we've got a long way to go until there's an election for the 2018 House. These special elections gin up a lot of attention locally and nationally. Obviously, it's disappointing not to have taken this seat in the Georgia 6th. But it is a seat that was held for many years by Republican Congressman Newt Gingrich and was most recently held by a Republican congressman. So it's not surprising that Jon Ossoff wasn't successful in the special election. Between health care and tax reform, there's a lot of things that are going to happen here in the Congress between now and the next time there's a general election where control of the House is genuinely at issue.
And I see how Democrats can take some pride in getting close, but that's not what it's about. You have to figure out why all the negativity toward the president isn't enough for people to switch, if they are Republicans, to Democrat. What are you not giving them?
Well, Chris, I think our challenge is to put forward a strong and a clear agenda that helps middle Americans look at the two parties and look at the directions we'd like to take the country and say that they would rather have Congress in the hands of Democrats. At the moment, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. So they've got the opportunity to move their agenda in a way they haven't had in a long time. And we need to be not just pointing at some of the excesses or even outrages of President Trump, some of the statements he made as a candidate or some of the choices he's making, and instead put forward a positive and constructive agenda. I think if we don't do that, we won't be successful in 2018. If we do that, I think we've got a really strong chance of taking back the House.
All right, let's get your take on two issues that do matter to the American people. The first one, the press secretary says he hasn't had a chance to talk with the president yet about whether or not he agrees that the Russians hacked and interfered during our election. Do you believe that on any level? The fact, of course, is the president has talked about this many times. He's always been sideways on acknowledging the Russian hacking, despite all of the evidence that it actually happened. But what do you make of the press secretary saying they haven't talked about it?
Well, that's right, Chris. It's just puzzling for Sean Spicer to say he doesn't know, he hasn't talked to him about it. It was striking in the recent testimony by former Director Comey that Attorney General Sessions had apparently never sat down with him to ask him in detail about the Russian intrusion into our 2016 election and what we should do about it. The more important thing is that it's not clear that President Trump takes this seriously as the assault on America that it is. Here in the Senate, on a bipartisan basis, we passed strong sanctions against Russia by a vote of 98-2 last week. And I think that shows that Republicans and Democrats have come together to confront this threat. Former Director Comey said in his testimony before the Senate recently that because Vladimir Putin's Russia succeeded in interfering in our 2016 election, we can expect them to come back and try again and try harder. We need to be working on a bipartisan basis. This isn't an election issue for 2016. This is an election issue for 2018 and 2020, Chris.
Quickly, what do you want to come out of this Mueller meeting today? I know you won't be there. It's with the leadership of the committee, but what do you want?
It's called deconfliction. It's making clear what's the investigation that Mueller is looking into and what's the investigation that the Intelligence Committee and the Judiciary Committee are looking into to make sure that there isn't interference between those two investigations. Former Director Comey testified recently that he believed it's entirely possible to have ongoing investigations here in the Congress, and I have confidence in those investigations in the Senate. They're moving forward in a strong and bipartisan way. Comey testified it's possible for those investigations to move forward without causing a needless interference with the counterintelligence and possibly criminal investigation being led by Special Counsel Mueller.
But Comey is out and Mueller is in, and you will learn today what he thinks about deconfliction. We look forward to getting that reckoning. Lastly, health care. There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, nothing new where you are. You have a undoubtedly closed process. The Republicans are saying they're going to have a draft maybe tomorrow, but this week, and they want to vote next week. What do you see coming?
Well, we don't know what's in the bill that's being written by the Senate Republican majority. There are many Republican senators who've said in recent days that they don't even know what's in the bill. Chris, here's the difference between this process and the process that produced the Affordable Care Act. There were dozens of hearings, days of hearings, in front of the Health and Education Committee and the Finance Committee in the Senate before that bill ever moved forward to the floor. Folks may not remember that. They may instead remember a statement by Speaker Pelosi. But the important thing to remember is that dozens of amendments by Republicans were taken up and voted on, more than 150 amendments in those committee hearings. It was a long, torturous process that took nearly a year from introduction to passage. And it went through several different committees. There were lots of opportunities for the American people to learn what was being considered, to think about what was in the bill, and to weigh in. I had the head of an important hospital in my area in my office yesterday, very upset, very anxious, because he and his physicians, their nurses, this hospital that cares for children in my community, they don't know what's in it, and I can't tell them what's in it. This is no way to move forward a bill that will affect such an important thing as the health care of every American.
Senator Coons, thank you very much for being on New Day.
Thank you, Chris.